Hi, good to see you all this evening. It's been a kind of a rainy, dreary day here where I'm at in Texas. You can kind of see it here on this shot from a few hours ago. I've got a sort of a middle overcast, maybe 6 to 8,000 feet up there. A lot of remnants of showers that we had earlier this morning. And below that, some scud cloud, maybe 1 or 2,000 feet off the ground. That's what you see in the foreground here, just a little bit of stratus. Got tons of ground moisture here from all the rains this morning, and this is a shot of a poison oak that we've got here. So if you're out hiking in the woods and you see this, do not touch these things. There's another shot of it right there. You see that compound leaf pattern? There's like 3 of them, kind of a triplet. They look very similar to oaks, which this is an oak. You can touch these. This is just a sprout coming up. But man, if you get into that poison oak, it's serious bad news. And the area it's going to look like this. This is the ideal conditions. You see it in the woods, kind of like near clearings on the edges of wooded areas. So there you go. There's a little something different to look at to break up the monotony of all the maps and models and all that kind of thing. So the picture that we have in Texas really depends on what part of Texas you're in. Here's the visible satellite imagery. West of Fort Worth and north of there, clear skies, temperatures around 90 degrees. But you go south of there and you get into rain, clouds, and very cool weather. So there's this big dividing line along I-30 and I-35. A couple good thunderstorms up there in the high plains of Colorado too. Maybe we'll try to check those out. So let's go to that surface map. Let me pull that up here. So what do we have going on? Well, it looks a lot like yesterday. If you take a look at the broad scale pattern, you can see there's a predominant southeasterly flow from the Gulf like that. So you see that. However, embedded in there, I'm going to draw this in red. You can see there's kind of a outflow bubble. See that right there? North of the outflow boundary here along the coast, winds are out of the east-northeast. Temperatures are a lot cooler, and the big thing is the dew points are higher. There's 75 there at Lampasas, 68 at Mineral Wells. Now, when you're on the backside of this boundary, the temperatures do tend to go up and down depending on if you're getting sunlight. So that makes it kind of hard to find the back edge, but one property that's conserved is moisture. So we can look at the difference between that and the 46 and 49 in Amarillo, and we can kind of use that to kind of find where the back edge of that boundary might be. So I might look between up here in Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, I've got Clinton with 46 dew points, 61 at Ardmore. That's a pretty significant difference. So maybe I'll put the boundary back here. Maybe something like that. We go from 47 here at Big Springs to 66 at Breckenridge. That's a pretty big difference. 66 there at Abilene. So there you go. That's one way you can find these boundaries when the temperature spread is not very hard to pick up on. So this is basically just a cool bubble of air in place, and we are getting like some gentle lift along the upwind side of that. We got the flow coming in off the Gulf, very moist and moderately unstable, and that's all it takes is a little bit of lift along that boundary. It's kind of like a frontal boundary. So we get lift in this region here, and that's the reason we've had showers and that kind of thing over the past day. Here's a look at the precip we've had over Texas in the past 24 hours. This is ending at 6 a.m. this morning. So we've had around 1 to 2 inches, mostly through Austin and Waco, and I know it was coming down here pretty hard around 6 to 8 or 9 a.m. and quite a bit along the Gulf too, but unfortunately Dallas and Fort Worth is on the wrong side of that outflow bubble, so there you're going to get a little bit of descent on the backside. And of course nothing out for West Texas there, just a little bit too far west of the action. So why are we having all this stuff going on? Well, I should have covered this yesterday, but this is the precipitable water. This is This is kind of like a sum of all the, let me get this position correctly. This is basically how much precip you would get out of the column of air from the surface on up to the stratosphere if you were able to squeeze all of that out into precipitation. You can see it's calibrated down here at the bottom in inches. So what we're looking at here in Texas is up to about 2.5 to 3 inches. That's a lot of precipitable water. See that right there? So once we start getting above 1.5 to 2 inches, that's very favorable for precip, and it doesn't take much to get convection and showers out of that. And then further north in Oklahoma, you can see we're getting values more like 0.7 to 1 inch. So that's on the weaker side. So there is moisture up here, but it's not very deep. That's the key thing. So you might find 70s dew points there in Iowa, but if you look at soundings, you might find it's pretty shallow, and the precipitable water is going to be on the low side. So what's happened is we've had a slug of this moisture come up into the Gulf Coast area, riding on the southeasterly flow, and that's helped reinforce these showers that we've had. So where does this moisture come from? Well, the most likely source of this is going to be evaporation off the sea, the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. I pulled up the sea surface temperatures here. You can take a look at this. This is for yesterday, and it's got this large area of 30 Celsius, which is 86 Fahrenheit. That'd be pretty nice to swim in. That's almost usually if we have a pool outside and it's getting over 86, that's almost a little bit too warm to swim in. I think 81 or 82 is about ideal. So this is very warm water. And if you've got a good inversion over this and a fetch of air flowing over this, you're going to start picking up some of that moisture, transferring that into the air above that and into the boundary layer, and that's going to make its way towards Texas. So that's probably what's happened here. If you look at the anomalies, here's the sea surface temperature anomaly, you can see things are on the warm side. So we got these shades of, it looks like 1 to 2 Celsius, which is about 3 to 4 Fahrenheit degrees above normal. So that's very helpful for getting dew points up there and building up a good layer of rich moisture. So here's the big picture. 250 millibar winds. You can see there's that jet stream that we had here in Texas has moved on off to the east. Got a slight bit of a split flow pattern, one branch up here in British Columbia, the other in California, and the hot high pressure area that's kept us kind of warm a couple weeks ago, that's backed off quite a bit, back off to the coast and probably off the Texas coast too. So we're under the influence of this 30 to 40 knot winds aloft, and that's going to be another factor that favors development of precipitation across Texas. Anytime you get winds up above 20 or 30 knots aloft in Texas in August, that will definitely favor precipitation. So here's the changes we're going to have going on over the next few days. This is going into Thursday and Friday, and you notice there's this big, strong polar front jet coming up into Alaska. The flow is very meridional, broken up into very deep waves. You're going to see this. This is on the backside of the ridge, so that's going to move pretty far northward. And that's going to dislodge some polar air in Canada and bring that down south. And you can imagine when you move these temperature regimes north and south like that, that's going to help amplify the pattern. So we bring this cold air down, that's going to help deepen a trough down here. So we're going to see these patterns amplify. See that right there? There's development of this big trough across the northern plains. So that's going to affect the southern plains here, probably going to get a chance for some severe weather, depending on what the boundaries are like down in Texas and Oklahoma. And it looks like more action coming in the Gulf. This is getting out to 192 hours, but see that? This is happening again. That pushes all the way up into Alaska. In wintertime, this would be a good setup for an Arctic outbreak. And let's see the response in the wind, in the height fields in the central U.S. Big trough. Big Hudson Bay low. So that's going to affect us again. Big meridional pattern here coming up for the later part of this month. So I think we're going to have a lot to look at. That's probably going to drive a little bit of polar air down into the Great Lakes area at least. Probably some backdoor fronts coming into Texas and Oklahoma. And continued chances for showers and storms. And then this is going to be a bit messy. This is showing the pressure and temperature regimes. Yeah, actually, let me show you a different map here. Let's go back to that precipitable water. Because we can use the forecast of this to kind of see what happens. You can see here in Texas, see that 2 to 2.5 inches, that's going to start going away. See, that fizzles right there. So we're probably going to get a little bit of a respite from this dreary pattern. But again, this is just a forecast. Things could change. We might see some more moisture being picked up off the Gulf. That could certainly happen. And you can see there's a little bit of a wave going on here. Maybe there's a bit of higher moisture heading into the Texas area. Yeah, there's one right there. So that'll be something to watch. And then as we get the waves active in the northern U.S., see that boundary here? This is a new front coming through, driving down drier air from the north. So let me get this going again. Okay, so there you can see a push of dry, cool air all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So that may help focus some showers in the southern U.S. And then it looks like maybe another push later on. So this is getting way out there. But anyway, the good news is it looks like we've kind of broken hold of that very hot summer pattern, and things are getting a little bit more interesting now. So anyway, I think that's about all I've got for today. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.